Alrighty, so now we're getting back to our the next part of this, where in the previous video, we actually put together this whole prompt in trying to learn Claude API. And just as a refresher, it's giving me about four mental models. Number one, what is an API? Number two is what is a model and why does it need instructions every single time? Mental model three, what is an agent? Why is it different from from just asking Claude a question? Mental model four, what is a tool? So we just passed mental model number one, and I'm gonna be real with y'all. That last video took a lot out of me. I just went down to the gym, my apartment gym, take a break, and let me see how much of that I actually retain. Which now comes down to me answering the question, why are we? Because our intention here is to go ahead and actually pass the CCFA exam, right? So we're actually here right now, but I'm going to go ahead and actually open this up. I'm going to scroll a little bit up to the Anthropic Partner Network. And you're probably wondering, like, well, Rich, like, if we wanted to go ahead and actually pass all four learning modules, it has Introduction to Agent Skills, Building with Claude API, Introduction to Model Context Protocol, and then you have Claude Code in Action. Why are we not following the chronological order? Well, for starters, I don't have a technical background, and I'm highlighting this for other people that want to learn that also don't have a technical background. But going back into Claude, let's actually go ahead and take a look at it. The API is basically the foundation that everything else sits on, but you do not need to understand it theoretically. You need to understand it by doing one thing: sending your first API call and seeing a response come back. So this is first things first. So I'm actually going to grab this here, and I'm gonna actually go out there and paste it all the way on the bottom. Okay, so why understanding API first, right? And let's open this one up. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this. And this whole Google Doc, by the way, as I mentioned before, is actually, you go over to the channel description of the YouTube channel that you're watching at right now, under the WAP community, go here, click on this link. It'll pop you up to this page. All the resources are here. I'm not gatekeeping anything. Let's take a look at it. Wow, perfect. So you have that. So why understanding API first? API is the foundation. Okay. Now, I also really like this answer here. It's like, once you actually have sent your first API call, Claude Code will feel significantly less intimidating. And you go back to Claude Code tutorial. Okay, and you do this. And I'm just going to copy and paste it down here. See, as I'm doing this, I'm remembering this thing a lot better too myself. And it says, like, MCP does not require you to build an MCP server to understand it. It requires you to understand what problem it solves, which is connecting Claude to the tools and the data it needs to do real work. So the learning prompt here is you have this. And I'm going to click on this. I'm going to add that here. And it says, then by this point, this is actually week 6. Agent skills and multi-agent orchestration. This is the timeline that I'm giving myself. So that's week 6. Actually, I have no idea why I didn't even do it like this. This is actually week 5. And I'm just walking y'all just through my process. Yeah. This is also based upon how I actually learn. So if somebody wants to have troll comments here about, like, well, why wouldn't you you go do it your way. I'm going to learn this thing the way that my brain functions and how it works for me. And I'm documenting this entire journey based upon that, right? You can do it your way. But I think it's also important that, like, you establish some kind of you establish some kind of yeah, you establish some type of framework in actually being able to learn these skills, and while you're documenting it is you're able to go and backtrack your steps. Because even though I put this all together, and this is the process I use every single time I'm learning a new skill, sometimes you forget, right? And there's another reason why you should be building in public. But I actually now have all of this, and it's going to go ahead and ask me now. All right, so tell me in your own words, no pressure, no right or wrong answer. If somebody asks you a networking event, what's an API? What would you say? Use your own analogy of the staffing agency. The reason why I'm asking you to move forward builds on top of that, and the foundation isn't solid, the next layer won't stick. So I'm just going to go out there and tell it. And as I mentioned before, I use Gen Spark Speakly for voice prompting. If you guys are wondering what this guy is right here, so I'm going to let it know. In my own words, what's an API? I would like to use the staffing agency analogy that you provided for me. And it's just like how it is that you said, which helps me memorize it that much simpler, is when a company needs to hire a person to come onto the team, they send out very clear instructions in the form of a job description to the staffing agency. They don't need to know how the staffing agency is going to find or hire the right person for them. They just need to send over a detailed job description. And in this case, I don't need to know how the Claude brain is going to provide me with the results. I just need to know that when I'm prompting, it's going to go through an API. And the way that I understand it is it's going to process the information that I have, and it's going to send me back the results based upon what it is that I send. Overall, is that it? Or am I missing anything before we move over to mental model number 2? Voice prompting is so clutch, because now I just have all this information in here. Saves me a lot more time and energy than typing. And I think for the most part, I'm ready to go ahead and move on to mental model number 2 and play. At this point, I'm going to play around with it, because if I'm going to go through mental model 2, 3, 4 like this, I ain't never going to take the exam, right? No. I'm somewhat on a time crunch right here. Is it possible for me to get mental model 2, 3, and 4, and then you ask me all of which? Because I don't have I don't have a coding background, but I do have some technical understanding. I think it would move a lot faster if we can go over mental models 2, 3, and 4. And I would like to know when I can actually start touching the content in the curriculum. But I appreciate the context that you're giving me. It's being very helpful. Be nice to Claude. Okay. So now I'm prompting all of this. The one thing I'd say, add one sentence, the job description has to follow a very specific format. You can't just send over a casual text. That format, that detail will matter later, but you got the core, so let's go ahead and move. Mental models 2, 3, and 4, rapid fire. Okay, what is a model? Why does it have amnesia? Imagine the world's smartest consultant. Brilliant, knows everything, but here's the catch. Every single time you call them, they have no memory of any previous conversation, 0. You have to reintroduce yourself, re-explain the project, and re-give them all the context every single call. That is Claude. That is every AI model. Claude is not a person sitting around somewhere remembering you. It's a mathematical system that processes whatever you put in front of it right now and generates a response. When the conversation ends, that slate is wiped clean. The technical layer, this is called being stateless. Each API is completely independent, and the only memory Claude has is what you physically include in the message that you send. This has one massive architectural consequence, that entire exam is built around. If you want Claude to remember something, you have to tell it again every time. The part most people get wrong. People assume Claude learns from conversations or remembers returning users. It does not, unless the system is specifically engineered to store and reject that memory. That engineering is a big part of what the exam tests. Model number 3, what is an agent? How is it different from just asking Claude a question? Think about the difference between two types of employees. Employee type A, the answer, you ask them a question, they give you an answer, they sit back down and wait, that's it. One question, one answer, done. Employee type B, the executor, you give them a goal, they figure out the steps, they make phone calls, pull reports, send emails, hit obstacles, adjust, and keep going until the goal is achieved or until they need to ask you something important. Well, sounds like we all need more employee type Bs. Asking Claude a question equals employee type A. An agent, employee type B. An agent is Claude given a goal plus tools plus permission to take multiple steps to achieve that goal without you approving every single step. So it's just going, right? So the technical layer, here's the loop. It receives a goal, decides what action to take, uses a tool, searches the web, reads a file, calls it a database, gets the results back. Decide what to do next based on that result. Repeats it until it's done, or if it gets stuck, it asks for help. This loop is called an agentic loop. The exam tests whether you know how to design it, control it, and stop it safely. The part most people get wrong. The camera moment, this is the one, usually makes it click. An agent isn't smarter than Claude. It's Claude with a to-do list and the permission to keep working. Okay, mental model number 4, what is a tool? Okay, why does Claude need permission? The analogy, your new hire is brilliant, but your new company has a policy. No one accesses the customer database without explicit authorization. It doesn't matter how smart they are. If they haven't been granted access, they can't touch it. No one accesses the customer database without explicit instruction, authorization. So if they haven't granted the access, they can't touch it. Claude works exactly the same way. On its own, Claude can do one thing, generate text. It can't search the web, read your files, send emails, look up customer records, or run calculations, unless you explicitly hand it a tool and say you are allowed to do this. A tool is a specific capability you grant Claude access to with a defined description of what it does and rules for how it works. The technical layer. Every tool has 3 parts. Name, description, schema. Okay, name, search web. Okay, description, what it does in plain English. Claude reads this and decides when to use it. Schema, the exact format Claude must use when calling it. This is why tool descriptions causes failures. This is why tool descriptions are one of the most tested concepts on the exam. A bad description doesn't just cause confusion, it causes tool selection failure or hallucination. The exam will give you scenarios where something breaks and the answer is always fix the tool description. How all 4 connect. The one paragraph that ties it all together. Claude is a stateless model, mental model 2. It only knows. Okay, so when do you start the actual curriculum? Right now, next message. Here's my recommended starting sequence based upon the exam weight and logical dependency. Week 1, 2, API fundamentals, directly feed domain 1, which is 27%, domain 3, 20%, 3. Okay, so now we have this, right? So tell me one thing. Do you want to start domain 1 with the agentic architecture, highest weight 27%, or do you want the logical order and start with Claude API basics that builds on it? Either is defensible. I have a recommendation, but I want to hear your instinct first. Well, let's actually go ahead and think about this now. Here's my recommended. So week 1, Claude API that directly feeds in the domain. Okay, week 3, Claude Code and Claude. domain. Week 4, tool design and MCP. Domain 4, week 5, context management reliability. Domain 5, week 6, drilling across all 6 exam scenarios. Week 8, mock exam and gap fill. So tell me one thing. Do you want to start with domain 1? Agentic architecture, highest weight? Or do you want to go in a logical order and start with the Claude API basics that builds upon everything else? I have no opinion either way. I don't even really understand what is it that you're asking for, but whatever it is that you think is easier and the natural flow, it sounds to me like we're going to end up in the same spot in week 8. And then because I have this, in my previous prompt for another project that helped me build you out as a project, as my tutor, it basically said this. So essentially, I need to send my first API call and see a response come back. So if we're sticking to that game plan, when am I sending my first API call? I actually never sent out an API call before. What do you think is easier? Because as of right now, you've given me a lot of context, but I don't have anything visual yet where I'm seeing the action from what it is that I'm prompting or any instructions that I'm providing Claude, compared to I put a prompt into Lovable to create a prototype. I can almost immediately see the results. As of right now, I don't really know how any of this is going to look like as the end result. Now you start having a little bit more of a conversation. Now, as I'm doing this, right, the next thing I'm going to do here is I'm also just going to go out there and copy all of this. Because, like, and why the hell am I going to copy all of this? I'm just going to copy the parts that I need, right? And that's just because, like, the more information I feed it, it's going to shrink everything. So I want to grab all this. And then at the end of it, we're most likely going to go ahead and actually create a blog out of all this anyways, because we never waste anything here. Okay, all right. So I'm just going to take all this right now. And at some point, I'm going to take all of this. I'll probably divide it up into like different Google Docs is like my whole process. So I have this. Let's see. Okay, all right. Perfect. This is exactly the right instinct. Let's get you through the first to a visual result fast. But first, one honest thing I need to tell you before we go any further. Sending a real API call requires 2 things that I need to walk you through carefully. An API key, your personal password that tells Anthropic this request is from Rich. A place to send it from, a terminal code environment tool. Here's the problem. I can show you the code, but I cannot run it for you inside this chat. This is not lovable. There's no visual builder here that executes on your behalf. So we have 2 paths. Okay. The fastest visual result recommended for you. We use a free tool, Google Colab. It's a no installation, no terminal to set up. You open it up like a Google Doc. You paste what I give you, press play, and you see a real API response come back on the screen. This is your lovable equivalent for the API world. Okay, path B, the proper developer way, we install Python on your computer, set up a terminal. Well, just seeing this shit right now, we set up a Python on your computer. I don't know why. My anxiety level just shot up. Set up a terminal, configure environment variables is how engineers do it. It takes 45 minutes to set up before you see a result. I do not recommend this for you to have for now. I don't even recommend this for myself. The exam does not test your ability to install software. It tests your ability to understand what code is doing. Nah, let's save this for later. It's too much. Okay, before either path, you need an API key. And here's what I need you to do right now before our next message. Go to console.anthropic, sign in, click API keys on left bar and name it. Copy it immediately, paste it somewhere safe, check your billing. The API is not free like Cloud AI, but for studying, the cost is almost nothing. We're talking cents per session. You'll need to go out there and add a credit card, maybe put $5 on the credit. Okay, what happens the moment you send your first call? Here's what you're about to see in plain English so you know what you're looking for. You're going to send a Claude message through the API, not through Claude API. Though the API directly, there's the camera moment. Your action before the next message. Okay, API credits at $5. You won't spend more than a few cents. Go to collab. Okay, sign in. My key in collab, the moment you need to say is block. All right. So this is actually the moment. This is the moment today's YouTube video ends. What questions do you have before we go ahead and get the key? All right. Before we go ahead and actually get the key, tokens and all that, I'm just going to say this. I'm just assuming, I think I already know the answer to it, but I'm just assuming the following. As I'm doing this right now, I'm recording all of this on a Loom screen recording share. I'm assuming I should not show the audience my API key, right? And then the other thing I'm actually going to say is this. I'm going to do a few things here. Next off, I would prefer to go ahead and do the fastest visual result, but at some point I will come back and do it the proper way where we'll install Python for my computer. But for the time being, for the sake of time, and then also making sure that I don't feel too overwhelmed, I don't think we should install Python onto my own computer because I think it's just going to be too much. It says 45 minutes, but I'm extremely non-technical, so I think it's actually going to go way beyond that. And then something else that I'm going to let Claude know is going to basically be this. Also, one more piece of feedback. I've noticed that you've done this at least twice already. Okay, I'm going to tell it because I want to see things in a certain way. When you're giving me like action items or insights, such as the 2 references that I am going to share right now, can you give it to me line by line? Like for the following, instead of just giving me one gigantic paragraph, maybe just go ahead and bullet. So we would have 1 bullet for week 1, week 2, 1 bullet for week 3, 1 bullet for week 4. Instead of a paragraph. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab this too. Usually, I would just take a screenshot of this and just let it know, but I imagine like coming up, there's going to be a lot more screenshots that I'm going to take, so I'm just going to save up on that. You did it here again, your action items before your next message. It's one gigantic paragraph. I'd rather you have one line for number one, and then one line for number two, and then one line for number three, instead of just one gigantic paragraph. Got it. Okay. This is insane. Okay. What should the next YouTube title be? I'm sending my first API call live. Also, I went to the gym and I came back and started recording again from the mental models 2, 3, and 4. What should the YouTube title for the recording that I just done so far in the last 26 minutes be? I want both titles to be extremely searchable on YouTube. You might as well go ahead and milk it and monetize it while you're doing it, right? Oh, this is actually good. I'm gonna go out there and just grab this. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and add this thing to my list. And then I'm gonna add this one right here too. I set my first Claude API call with 0 coding experience. That's gonna be the next one. Okay, all right. So after I do this, I can start going over the curriculum. Or honestly, does the curriculum really not matter? Because like it's just so badly recorded too. I just want to know because I'm also on a schedule to go ahead and pass this exam. We already have more than 10 people that can pass the exam. That's a part of the program, but I would actually like to be one of the people that also pass the exam with them. Be nice to Claude. Not trying to sound impatient, just trying to understand what are the next steps and what are the outcomes. Like I send this API and I'm gonna through Google Colab and I'm gonna see something come back that's gonna be visible. I don't even know what to expect. Good, you actually seen the foundation. I was gonna try. What comes immediately after that, once you have seen the response, we do 3 things in the same session. Change the message, change the model, read the token count. Those 3 moves should take 15 minutes and they unlock domains 1, 2, 1, 3, and 5 simultaneously. Today, send the first API call. This week, core API concepts to feed, and then you're on track to study alongside and pass within your window. Go get the key. Everything else is ready. Gucci. All right, folks, you heard it. Next video, I'm going to go ahead and send out my first Claude API call. Zero coding experience. Let's go out there and see what happens. This is how you learn AI. And I'll go ahead and finish with this. Like, this is how I've learned largely everything in the program. Like everything. Like, seems very, very, very like confusing at first, but you know, like a week, 2 weeks go by, and all of a sudden you feel like you're Tony Stark. Okay, see y'all next time.